India in details.
Many in India are extremely upset because they feel that despite the advantage and the momentum that India had, why, all of a sudden, India decided to stop and agreed to a ceasefire. After all, they feel that Pakistan is a habitual offender, and this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to resolve the problems in Pakistan once and for all. And yes, finally, we have an explanation why it actually happened. So, as we know, regarding the India-Pakistan tensions, Vance had earlier mentioned that we are not going to get involved in the middle of war that is fundamentally none of our business and has nothing to do with America's ability to control it. Right? So what happened all of a sudden that the USA finally got involved? Well, according to this explosive article published on CNN, it all changed when this so-called alarming intelligence was received. As mentioned here, on Friday morning, the US received alarming intelligence. And it was because of this alarming intelligence that the USA decided to increase its involvement. So, what on earth is that alarming intelligence? What was about to happen if the fight had continued? Was India planning something massive? Was Turkey or China going to be directly involved? Was Bangladesh about to do something mischievous? Was Pakistan about to go for a nuclear option? Of course, it has been observed earlier by this man, Sri Goravarya, that India was planning something so massive that it was going to make Pakistan ask for mercy. Or, geopolitically speaking, was the USA uncomfortable with India because it was attacking Pakistani terrorist infrastructure in a way that was going to hurt US interests in the region? After all, we know that for a long time, the USA has used Pakistan as a tool to get its so-called dirty work done in the region. Or was this whole alarming intelligence just a false, made-up story or a clever move to brand Trump as a peacemaker? After all, we know how badly Trump wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, right? According to the article on CNN, the White House believed there was a high probability for dramatic escalation as the conflict went into the weekend. And if you see Trump's posts carefully, there is something that doesn't sound right. Take a look at this one. Referring to India as a great nation is quite understandable, but using the word great for a country like Pakistan can sound shocking to many. Of course, we know that despite the Chinese influence, Pakistan is a key player for the USA. Trump even wants to increase trade with Pakistan. Is that how Trump wants to impress India? Calling Pakistan great, increasing trade. What else? What else do you want to do with a country that is responsible for terrorist attacks and that is known as the epicenter of terrorist activities? Of course, it seems clear that the Western colonial criminal states are playing their dirty geopolitical game here. The IMF thing is an example. Rewarding Pakistan by giving it more funds? It doesn't make sense for India, but for the Western colonial criminal states, it does. To start with, we should understand that the Western colonial criminal states are not genuine well-wishers of India. Yes, there is some anti-Pakistani sentiment in their countries due to the crimes and terrorism that people of Pakistani origin have committed worldwide. But that doesn't mean that the West's decades-old or centuries-old anti-Hindu or so-called anti-pagan attitude will just disappear. The West sees India as an emerging superpower. It wants to have some sort of control over India's sensitive nerve to keep India in check if and when required. Pakistan, through its jihad-based doctrine, in some way sees itself as a challenger to India's rise, and it offers itself not just to China, but also to the Western nations. Read this to understand why Pakistan is still useful to many parts of the world. As mentioned here, even Russia would happily play with Pakistan the day India matters less to the Kremlin. And please, don't be surprised reading all this, because back in 2019, we saw how Russia was, in a way, openly flirting with Pakistan. Also, take a look at this map, which was published in 2015. It highlights the country selling weapons to both India and Pakistan. So how exactly did Pakistan approach the USA? Here are two narratives that are being discussed. Read them carefully. As far as the West is concerned, the idea could be to have a piece from the undivided Bharat, in the form of Bangladesh or in the form of Pakistan, or both, to counterbalance India, a former colony. After all, the West sees India as a future rival, a superpower in the making, and India is seen as a country that doesn't want to blindly follow the US-led West. Never forget that India is a former colony, and when a former colony turns into a superpower, it scares the former colonial masters because it can properly uncover centuries of crimes committed by them. And if left unchecked, a former colony can even take revenge, eventually. It seems that the West really fears that. That is why it is important to keep India colonized emotionally through media, academia, religious conversions, and of course, by supporting the so-called Brown Sahibs. To many, this sudden ceasefire seems to be just dirty geopolitical maneuvering. As mentioned here, the US received alarming intelligence, but of course, the officials declined to describe the nature of the information, citing its sensitivity. How do you interpret this? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. See you again